This is Rachel Kinnett, and this is my Module 11 for EDL 856 on Case Study, a New Role for the Parents Organization. So first I want to summarize the case, establish my facts. So this case study is about a parent organization that has decided to become an independent parent organization, no longer associated with the National PTA. As part of this separation and their connection with the school, they want to be involved in the school decision making. They wanted to be involved in the development of instructional or curricular processes. They want to be able to establish committees that will meet regularly to discuss discipline, teacher performance, and evaluation of the whole school. The committees, who are the parents, would observe and collect data from students, parents, and teachers. They want to implement those policy changes. Myself and the representatives of the parent organization met in my office as the principal. The previous school year meeting was mentioned the changes, and the parent organization had a meeting without me. And so when they came to my office, they wanted these changes to go in effect without really too much discussion. So it would affect my school and my staff, as I am not well informed myself as the principal and have not had a chance to run these things by my staff and feel and make sure that they are appropriate and supportive of the school improvement process as a whole. The parents say they want to be involved more. However, I do need to have boundaries. So as part of this case study and in reviewing this, I needed to determine what would be the best route to take. Legal or ethical issues. At the time of the meeting and the time that I, as the principal, was receiving some of this information, I would say there's no harm at the immediate time. However, it could be harmful to my teachers and possibly even some of my parents. I was a bit frustrated that I was not involved in the discussions prior to the meeting where they are sharing their wants. Does the action of the situation contravene or in any existing law? The expectations of the parents could ride on the line of challenging school board decisions and processes, and there could be a question of confidentiality if parents are coming to the school and observing others, whether it be other students, other teachers, and coming across as an evaluative group for my staff. Was there a breach of contract? Were the actions discriminatory and constituted as harassment? I think at the time of the meeting, I as a principal wouldn't think that there was a breach of contract at the time, but there could be things that could go wrong moving forward that could include feeling discriminated against by a group of parents. And it could appear harassing if they're coming in often to the building and throwing off the culture within the building and interrupting school processes and education for their students. So the policies needed to be acceptable and approved by me to make sure they're appropriate for having in our school building. So looking at the whole case study as a whole, a good summary, one sentence would be, I want my parents involved and part of my school and their students' education. However, I need to be sure that my staff is not feeling evaluated and watched by their parents, nor are any board or district policies challenged or violated with the request that they're wanting to be more involved. So the facts, I do know that there's a principal involved, me. There's the school board, it has been brought up, so I know that they have paid attention to what school board, the policies are in place and what the board, or how the board plays a role in the policies. There were parent representatives, including a lawyer, so the lawyer was doing a lot of the speaking. We are at the school, we met in the principal's office, and then the parent-teacher organization is part of this situation. The unknown, sorry, I covered that up, is I don't know the location of the school. I don't know if it's a city school, meaning that it's larger. I don't know if it's a rural school or even very rural or it's very small community. I don't know the level of the school, meaning I don't know if it's an elementary school, middle school, high school. I'm not sure on the size, so I don't know if it's a small school. It could be a K-6, it could be a K-12 building. I don't know if there's multiple tracks of students or just a couple tracks per grade level. And I'm not sure that I know, and it wasn't really stated in my information, the differences in the guidelines between the national PTA and an independent parent organization to basically understand more why the parent organization wanted to be separate. Were they not happy with the guidelines that come along with the national PTA. And so being an independent organization, does that give them different guidelines to follow? Can they create their own? So a lot of that is not something that was provided as part of the information, and that I'm not familiar with enough to know to have that play into my decision, and how I might even interact with them and bring up topics. Is just knowing what they can and cannot do being an independent organization. So I reviewed and prioritized the information. So could this conflict situation or the decision be damaging to stakeholders or to the community? It could cause it could be damaging. It could cause a divide rather than a collaborative effort. If the continued discussions with the parent-teacher organization are strenuous and it's a struggle and we can't come to a compromise, it could become a parent organization against the school. So it could almost divide us versus bringing us together. What individuals and groups have an important stake in the outcome? I think in regards to the parent organization and the things that they would like to have policies in place for, it would affect the principal. It would involve our parent organization. It would affect other families. It would affect the staff. It could affect community members. And it could involve upper level administration and school board. If it's something where we're needing to clarify that some of the things they would like to help with and be involved with are things that they can appropriately be involved with. Have all the relevant stakeholders been consulted? At this point, no. The only people involved at this point would be me as the principal and the parent organization. Can I learn more about the situation? Do I know enough to make a decision? I absolutely could learn more. Definitely need to learn more about some of the policies, the guidelines, things that a parent organization can do or have the right to do as an independent organization, as well as what my policies and district policies, board policies, school policies, and what those are and how those mesh with the parent organization's requests. And I think I can determine a direction to go in and gain more insight to support my decision, but I don't know that I would say I can make a solid decision of yes or no in one way or the other and make such a definite answer in this short period of time. So my options and possible outcomes, number one, I could decide to support my parent organization and work with them in accomplishing anything they suggest and request. So I could just say, yes, we're going to do it all. I feel your need. I'm going to support you. Number two, I could continue to listen to their concerns, requests, expectations. I can then share what I think is best for the school, students, staff, and present some possible compromising scenarios. We could then work towards some policies and procedures that allow the parent organization to be involved more without challenging the policies that might be in place already. I would need to advocate for my staff, my students, although they're their students as well. They are my students within the building. The parent organization is advocating for their students. So we want to value that and validate that we understand where they're coming from. But as a team, we need to work together so that the responsibilities of some aspects fall as they should. So for example, as a building leader, I'm responsible for teacher performance. So in making a decision on that policy, we would need to keep in mind that parents are not evaluators of a district staff member. But parents could help with feedback from families and communities and students in regards to their view of how the school is functioning. So I think we can work on ways that, okay, you can help with this, but I think these things need to remain through the building level and through the principal, not something that a parent organization should be involved in and have the authority to do so, as it may not turn out to be a very good process and could possibly cause some consequences and some divide amongst their students' teachers. For immediate actions, my third option, I could get another meeting set. I can include the teachers in a discussion and be more prepared with responses based on what has been shared thus far. So I could think about ways to compromise and that can be accomplished soon, and then table bigger topics to be discussed later. So maybe there's something that's like, okay, I can agree with you on this. If we can tweak it a little bit, I think we can put this in place and work with you on that, but can we table these other ones and discuss them in more detail, maybe with more stakeholders, teachers present? I can make sure I have some information on how it meshes with our board policies and be sure that I know how far you guys can be involved without crossing even maybe a confidentiality border or a legal or ethical issue by having you guys involved in certain ways. So evaluating those options, my pros and cons. So on option one of not doing anything, it would allow us to move forward. It would minimize concerns of the staff. It's kind of a done deal. It would keep my vision of how the school operates. So I want the parents involved. We're going to go with it. The cons of that is it alienates the parent organization, not modeling a diverse building culture. It could create more concerns for staff. So we could say we're going to agree with the parent organization, but then the staff isn't happy. So now they become an organization that our staff doesn't want to work with, and it just alienates them from the building. But it could also move things quicker and make them happy. Option two, I think that would allow us to build some relationships and some connections, and more stakeholders can be involved by spreading that out and taking our time. We would have an organized plan and get to the point where everybody's in agreement with everything that we decide to do. The con of that is it could take too long. The parent organization could get frustrated. It could look as though I'm putting them off, that I don't agree with something, that I'm just finding some way to not come to their side or to understand their needs. And we could continue to struggle with agreeing on anything. For option three, I think this allows the school year to get started. It could build some rapport with the organization. They feel heard in the moment, but opens up communication to revisit topics in the future. The cons of that is it could seem as though I am continuing to put it off and not validate the organization's concerns. It could become difficult to manage those bigger conversations as the year goes on. So then some of those bigger topics could just get put by the wayside just by default of getting busy. So it could easily appear as though you just gave us one little thing and then you told us the rest was happening and it didn't. So a little bit of con there to that one. I do feel when looking at those three options that the best option actually would be option three. I do think with the timing of this conversation and knowing that the organization came to me at the beginning of the school and kind of laid down some guidelines and some procedures and processes that they wanted in place, that rather than cut them off and say no, but not also give them everything because there was a lot of things that needed to be thought about, I would go with what works best for the timing. I would build a rapport with the parent organization. I can agree with, so I would say I would agree with us starting with this, but we can revisit these other things. This allows for inclusion of more stakeholders and staff on the bigger topics. So when we bring the other ones back to the table, I can bring community members in, I can bring teachers in, and have a better conversation and be sure that everybody's on board. And it's not just a conversation between the teacher organization and just myself. This would also give me time to visit board and district policies and be more informed on that. It's a compromise, but it leaves things open for discussion. A better chance that we might come to a better conclusion on the way that we should go about things. And it allows the parent organization to be heard and validated, but not at the sake of dismissing my thoughts on and words and advocacy for my staff in school, but also not dismissing their advocacy for their students. So for the implementation of my plan, step one, I would say get a plan of implementation set with the parent organization in the meeting, with the understanding that I will share it with the staff for input and cross-check any district board policies for concerns. Next, I would review board and district policies to contradict any item that might be a concern. So there's a concern the staff may not agree. This can mean a tough conversation with the organization. So I need to schedule a meeting to discuss and revise a plan. So if what I'm starting to do does not work, I need to be on top of that and get back to them and say we need to revisit this. Step three, the parent organization, the staff, and possible community members can be involved. Step four, I do think I as a principal could deal with any hiccups informally in-house, but may need to involve board members or other appropriate district staff in a solution if a solution can't be reached. I do agree with the statement that was already in our template that warn, do not threat, informing the individual of the logical consequence of what can happen if a situation is not resolved. But not threatening them. We want to keep our parent organization connected. We don't want them to feel that they can't ever be involved. I think it just takes a lot of communicating and conversation versus dictating and telling. And in the end, if the implementation is not working, I need to bring the group back together with myself and some additional stakeholders and start together with some of our ideas. Not necessarily starting over, but start together and go through what each of us wants and how we can accomplish that together. And that is the end, and I appreciate your time, and thank you.